On today's video, we're going to unbox and install the new Type S Pro Series LED kit. This is the kit that is used on all of the comp cars in the 2021 Formula Drift Pro Championship. This kit includes 4 high-quality weatherproof double-wide exterior lighting strips, as well as a 5th strip that can be used as a brake light. It also includes smart hubs for each of the strips and pretty much everything else that you would ever need to install this kit on your vehicle. Install is pretty straightforward, and it does come with a pretty thorough quick start guide. But today we're going to do an install video of this awesome kit on my 1992 Nissan Skyline. I did have the regular Type S exterior kit on this vehicle for a little while, but the Pro kit is just too nice to pass up. So let's get into it. So step 1 is going to be to jack up the car. I already did that because I've been swapping around some wheels. Whenever jacking your car up, make sure that you support it with adequate jack stands. Sometimes I even leave the jacks underneath the car just for a little added support. You really don't want a car to fall on you, so make sure that you have lots of support. After that, you want to make sure that you disconnect the battery. Usually you just disconnect the negative and it's fine. Most battery terminals are going to be a 10mm, some are 8mm, some are 12 or 13. But on the Skyline it was 10mm. We already got that loose too because I didn't want to kill the battery overnight with the trunk being open and stuff. So keeping the battery disconnected is going to keep everything safe when you're doing your wiring. So it's a really important step to make sure that you disconnect that battery. You don't necessarily need to take your wheels off while doing this. To get between the side of the vehicle and the rear or the front and the sides, it just makes it a lot easier to tuck everything up and make sure everything's secure. Another handy thing to have around is a creeper. I didn't have a creeper for a long time, but I finally have one, and now I don't know how I lived without it. So inside the package, you're going to have a quick start guide. It'll give you a step-by-step way to do this. You're going to clean your surfaces with the alcohol prep pads that are included. It also comes with these adhesion promoter wipes. It's pretty cool that it comes with these. This is going to help everything stick even better. The regular Type S exterior kit sticks pretty well on its own, so the 3M adhesive that Type S uses is really strong stuff. It does come with a bunch of included brackets. If you want to get everything even more secure, you can screw these in. We're probably just going to do straight up adhesive because there's not many places to screw these in onto the car. We're just going to use the included adhesive backing that's on the strips. Then connect the LED strip cable to the smart hub controller cable. You also get adhesive backing for the smart hubs, and then you connect everything to your battery. And you also want to download the app because this is all app controlled. The Type S app is really nice, connects really easily. I haven't had any kind of connection issues, and I have Type S products on 3 different vehicles, a bunch of them on this one in particular. And the kit also comes with a 3rd brake light strip. This is kind of like an added bonus for the kit. You don't necessarily need to use that unless you're doing Formula D stuff. I think it's a pretty good look, so we're going to install that in the rear window. It's actually good that it comes with that 3rd brake light because technically, according to Maryland state law, I'm supposed to have a 3rd brake light because this vehicle was made after 1987. And I think if the cops really wanted to give me a hard time about not having a 3rd brake light, they could do that. I could mount it on the gurney flap or something, or there's a couple other spots, but we're just going to put it there so I don't get hassled in the future by any law enforcement. Not that I have been, but you never know. So yeah, on paper, it's nice and simple, but I'm going to show you how to do it in real life on a real car, particularly a Nissan Skyline. So pretty much with any install, you want to make sure that you have a good game plan and make sure that you have everything laid out where you want it. So I think we're going to start with the strips that are going to be on the front and the rear, kind of get them where we want them. This comes with 2 hubs for the front and the rear, as well as some really long cables for the strips themselves. The front and rear strips are going to be 24 inches long, which is really adequate for your front or rear coverage. With these also being double wide, you're going to get even more brightness. The regular single strips are already super bright, so these are going to be even brighter and more awesome. So with the front and the rear, you want to make the center of the rear around where the center of the strip would be. So that would mean that we're about right here. So if you have a Nissan Skyline, the place that I found that works pretty well is actually on the gas tank itself. It winds up being pretty flat right here, and it also gives you a way into the trunk. Pretty much with any wiring, I recommend that you try to keep it inside as much as possible. It's not going to be something that you can do in every spot, but for the rear, it's going to work out pretty conveniently to get this hub into the trunk area. So let's go ahead and start with that. This kit comes with plenty of alcohol wipes and plenty of that adhesive promoter, which is really cool because a lot of kits don't come with enough alcohol pads. Depending on how dirty your car is, I recommend getting some extra alcohol pads though, because some cars are really dirty if you drive them around all the time. This one especially, this car's filthy. We've taken it to a couple drift events, so we want to try to get this as clean as possible. Even wiping it down with some Windex or some detailer that doesn't include wax is a good idea just to get it extra clean. These are some good alcohol swabs though. As you can see, with just a couple wipes, this thing is already completely black. This thing's just dirty. The key to getting these strips to stick as well as possible is to just get everything as prepped as possible. With the adhesion promoter, it's more for plastics than anything, it seems, but we're gonna go ahead and wipe it on the metal anyway. This does smell a little bit like paint thinner, so be aware that you might not want to put this on any kind of painted surfaces, or at least spot check it before you do. Then you want to find the center point of your strip. To do that, you can measure it out and find the center point. Just measure out 12 inches, or you can just kind of bend it and eyeball it to where the center will be. You don't want to bend this enough that it kinks the strips or anything. You can bend these a pretty good amount, but once you get to a certain point, you're going to bend it and short something out. We're at about right here, and then find the center point of the rear of the car. Which again, you can measure that out. For us, it's kind of measured out for us. So for the rear of this car, basically this strip is going to start where our backup alarm is, and that puts our center of the strip right about the center of the vehicle. Once you have a good idea where you want everything, you can go ahead and take the adhesive backing off and stick the strip to where you want. When getting your strip to stick, you want to press pretty firmly, not firm enough that you're crushing LEDs or anything, but you do want to make sure that they stick pretty well. So make sure that you press enough that you get any kind of air bubbles out of the adhesive backing. Work from one way to the other. And since we're under this section of the car, we can go ahead and undo this little pigtail here and shove this into the trunk. And we already have a drain hole that goes into the trunk back here. Most vehicles do have some sort of drain hole in the trunk, so you should be able to find some way to get into your trunk on your vehicle as well. Sometimes you might have to cut a small hole, but it shouldn't be that big of a deal. It's usually a rubber grommet. And there we go. For the placement of the front strip, we're going to put it right on the front mount. The front bumper of this car comes on and off a lot, so we want to put it somewhere that stays on here permanently. This car does go to an occasional drift event, and the bumper comes off so we don't crack anything when we go off-road or hit cones. With this strip being 24 inches, it's about the width of the intercooler, so this is actually going to work out really well, like it was meant to be. Once again, we're going to prep the surface as much as possible with some alcohol swabs and the adhesion promoter. As for the harness end, you want to keep this as close to the battery as possible because your module is going to be connected to the battery. You can take this wire and run it pretty much any way you can to get to the battery. We have a few different pockets on the front side of the vehicle, so it'll actually be pretty easy. Then you want to make sure that you have even placement and go ahead and take the backing off the adhesive. Another good benefit of these quick connects is if we ever need to take the front mount off for any reason, like if we want to replace some of the couplers, we can go ahead and drop the entire intercooler and just disconnect our wiring with the quick connect. That way we don't have to pull all the adhesive off of this. Throughout this, we're just going to go right behind the intercooler and find the harness that powers the headlights and just run along with that. Then we can use the included tie wraps and just secure it to the factory harness. Now we're on the left side of the vehicle, which is the JDM passenger side. For the sides, you have a few different options on most cars. A lot of cars are going to have some sort of side skirt that's made out of plastic. The adhesion promoter is going to help you stick to this a lot better. But with ours, I think we're going to go a little bit further in just to keep the light a little more diffused. We kept it on the outside of the frame rails last time, and I really like the look of that. If you put it on the outside, it's going to make it a lot more visible, so that is a good option. But really just out of convenience, we're going to keep it in that same spot. It also makes it a little bit easier to run the wire back into the vehicle. With the side strips, you do have this really long factory harness, but you do need to make sure that this has enough length to get to the smart hub. The smart hub for the sides is going to be the same smart hub. It has two outputs on it, so when you're running this, just make sure that you have enough room to get there. Doesn't matter if you take this to the front or the rear. With ours, we're gonna take it to the front because we're gonna put the smart hub by the battery. We do have a 12-volt power source in the rear, which you might have to do for the rear smart hub, depending on your vehicle. But like I said, for our application, we're just gonna take it to the front. And once again, you wanna make sure you prep the surfaces with the alcohol pad and the adhesive promoter. So the smart hub for the two side strips has two outputs. It's going to be for each individual side. It doesn't look like it matters which one's which. And it also has a really long power cable. So if you want to run this on the other side of the vehicle away from the battery, you can do that. It also has an included fuse, which is pretty cool. It looks like the battery leads are about 6 feet to the hub. And then you get another couple feet with the actual pigtail. We're gonna keep ours under the hood just because it seems like a good spot and it keeps it close to the battery. And because we have so many included tie wraps, we can just tie up the slack when the time comes. So one more thing that's included in the kit that is really awesome is this extension. This has two of those quick connects, one female, one male. So because the LEDs on the rear of the vehicle are kind of far away, we can use this extension to go into the factory harness and then plug this into the smart hub and then keep the smart hub under the hood, which would be nice and convenient. It means you don't have to extend any of the power wiring. It keeps everything a lot nicer. And with these quick connects, it's easy to install. On your vehicle, you're probably gonna have to pull a little bit of trim up, but on the Skyline, because it's semi-gutted, we can just run along with the factory harness and go right under the hood, and then we'll have all of our smart hubs underneath of the hood. So for the harness for the side light, we're gonna run this into the engine bay and over towards the battery. On your vehicle, you're probably gonna have fender liners, and you can hide this nice and neat if you wanna take this kind of path. But on our car, we don't have any fender liners because I think I took them out when I rolled the fenders, or maybe the previous owner in Japan took them out. I don't remember. We're gonna go ahead and go through this factory pocket right here and secure it behind the factory wiring harness. And then we're gonna take a couple tie wraps, support it there, and it should be good to go. This kit also comes with a decent amount of tie wraps, which is pretty awesome because you can never have too many tie wraps. Last but not least, the driver's side, and then we can go to wiring and then see what these look like all lit up. So for the third brake light strip, what you're going to want to do is tie into your factory taillight harness. To do that, you want to disconnect your factory harness. On the Skyline, this whole panel kind of pops out. It's actually a little cracked. I guess Japanese Rob did that. Take the harness out. Take a multimeter if you have one handy. If you don't, maybe ask a friend. Most likely it's going to be black, and then one of these other wires. You can kind of see the metal pins there. So take your black to the black prong, and then have a friend hit the brake pedal, and whichever one of these wires has 12 volts on it is going to be the wires that you want to tie into. If you don't have a friend to press the brake pedal down, wedge something against the seat and on the brake pedal. Alright, as you can see, we have 12 volts on the red. So with these two wires, we can splice directly into them, but we're going to do a little T-tap connector. We have a few of those laying around. We've used them on a couple other projects, and we're going to use them on this one too. You really don't need to fuse this connection because the taillights already have a fuse from the factory, so you can go ahead and just use that T-tap connector and you should be fine. So an idea for this third brake light, the adhesive backing is on the back of it, so if you wanted to put it on the actual back window on the outside, you could do that. It's probably what a lot of the Formula D guys do. It makes it a lot more visible, and it's a Formula D regulation that you have a third brake light so they can see your car when it's braking, and the judges can make all their calls and stuff. But anyway, I want to keep this inside the car just to keep it a little more protected, and that'll keep all the wiring inside the vehicle. So what I did was I went down to AutoZone and I got myself some of this thinner 3M adhesive. This is some really thin stuff. I guess this is for exterior trim applications, but we're going to try to take this and try not to block any of the lights, but just put a couple slits here and there and then stick it to the inside of the back window. I think it'll make it a lot cleaner. I really want to have this third brake light. Like I said, I think it's going to look cool, and it's also going to keep me out of trouble. Maybe. We could put a pretty healthy amount on the ends. We'll do every 5 lights. This is going to leave a little bit of a gray strip that'll be visible, but I think it'll still look awesome. We're going to use the lines on the rear window as kind of a guide. We're probably going to keep it as high up as possible, so we're probably going to use this one as a guide. We're going to clean the inside of the window with our prep pads that we had left over, and it should stick pretty well. And then wait for that to dry. So with the third brake light, we're going to use these T-tap connectors. You can find these at different stores. I got mine off of Amazon. Basically what this connector does is it has this little slit here. This slices into the factory wire, and then this clamps down to protect it. Then you have this female side right here. Then you'll take one of these connectors here and put it on the wiring for the third brake light. So this will stab into this once it's all together, and will give you that added circuit. You'll have to strip these back a little bit, and you will need a set of crimpers and a pair of linemans. Just strip this back a little. One on the black, which should be our negative. Once you put this on, it should slice down on the wire through the jacket. So we're going to have 3 modules to mount somewhere on the car. On your car, it might be better to mount them inside the vehicle or in the trunk, but because we want to keep everything close to the battery, I'm going to try to mount all 3 of them here. I'm going to mount 1 in this pocket right here, and then 2 right here facing sideways like this. I should be able to fit 1 behind the fuse box, and then 1 beside that, and then the 1 over here, I'm probably going to make that smart hub the one for the front of the vehicle. So for that front hub, I might cut the ear off on one side just to get a little more clearance, just so the hood shuts and everything, and that should fit once I get rid of that little nub. Again, make sure you prep everything before you stick anything down. I'm mounting the hubs before we actually do the wiring. You might want to do the wiring first. I'm mounting the hubs first before I do the wiring, just so I can tidy everything up a little bit better. And it's disgusting in here, so hopefully you have some extra alcohol pads. You want to even prep the rear of the hubs too, just to wipe those down, get them a little bit cleaner. You should probably wear gloves while you do this. Not sure if Type S recommends that you do this. Those extra ears are for another mounting point, so you could screw these in somewhere if you wanted to, but because we're using just adhesive, we don't have to worry about these ears. And now this fits a lot better in that pocket. Now that we got our fitment down, we'll go ahead and use our prep pads and put the 3M adhesive on here and stick these all on. Next we'll do the dual hub. And lastly but not leastly, the rear. These are a little offset just to keep the harnesses from rubbing each other too much, but this should be good to go now. With wiring the power, each hub has a pretty long tail on it. You can cut these down, but they come with these nice built-in fuses, and it also has connectors to go directly to your battery. So we're going to keep all the harnesses full length because we want to keep these connectors. It makes it easier. And because we're over here by the battery and by this fuse box, we can tie wrap all the excess wiring and just kind of tuck it underneath of the fuse box and strap it to the factory harness, and nobody will know it's there. That also gives us the possibility to move everything around if we ever do a rear mounted battery or something like that. It gives us a lot of options for where to get power from. Now we can take all of our hots, try to make this as tidy as possible. You also want to keep your fuses accessible so you can replace those in the event that anything does happen. Usually they shouldn't pop. You can throw those right on the battery terminal. Name these down, kind of tuck them in the harness there, and tie wrap it to that spot, and it should be safe and secure. Tighten it up with a 10mm. And once your positive side's done, for negatives, we'll do the same exact thing. Sometimes it's a bit tidier to go underneath the stuff. Now we should have power to everything. Before we start hooking up the light side of the hubs, I do want to do the extension on the rear real quick. So let me show you how to do that. So this hub extension cable seems to be about 12 feet. All we're going to do is route it along the factory harness. It kind of goes through the car, has a little guard there. Don't mind the mess, and then comes through there and then goes through the firewall. On your car you might have to remove some trim. On this car, because it's already gutted, it's not going to be a big deal, but that will get us up front, and then that'll give us our control for the rear hub. When you do this, make sure you're taking the right end. The female end is going to go to the lights, and then this male end is going to go to the hub. While you're here, you might as well just screw these together. To do that, make sure that they're all lined up. There's going to be 3 female ends and 3 male prongs. You want to make sure that those 3 prongs line up. Don't force this. It's just small pieces of metal. You don't want to crush those or anything. And once it's seated, you just screw the 2 harnesses together. And then you can go ahead and tie it up as you go. These are precision cutters. These cut tie wraps really close to the edge, so you don't have to worry about getting cut. Usually I cut it perpendicular and then it's fine. These cut so well though that you might be able to just cut parallel and still be fine and not get cut. This is going to be one of our sides. Right on that here. We can plug that into our side hub. Again, make sure they're lined up right before you screw them on. Our other side light's coming from here. We're going to plug that into the hub. This is going to be for our rear. And we have our front hub. So now just tidy this up the best you can. Said hiding this near factory wiring is probably going to be your best bet. Make it look nice and neat. If you have a modern car, you're probably going to have lots of different pieces of trim to hide this in. But if you have an old car like this one, you just want to make it as tidy as possible. Now all that is left is to enjoy. So first impression with just powering these up, they're way brighter than the old exterior kit. I have a feeling I'm really gonna love these. So let's put some wheels on this and the front bumper, maybe take it to the car wash real quick, and then do some really cool B-roll. Now I really need underglow on that car. The Mustang looks so boring at night now. I just want to talk about how I had all these plans of doing rollers and all this epic footage, but there is literally a plague worth of cicadas in my area right now, and they're attracted to lights at night, which I did not know actually. Between getting hit with them while driving and my garage getting invaded with them tonight, we're gonna just do it outside, kind of in this dark area, and try to bust it out before they come and attack. They don't bite or anything, but I just don't like them touching me. Play with these lights all night, but I'm getting hit in the face by bugs, and I don't like that. So one of my favorite parts of any of Type S's kit is the app. The app has a lot of different functions in it. You can do a glow or a blink if you want to have a blinking light, or if you want to have a strobe effect, or if you want to do a fade. This actually has a really cool fade effect too. Then there's also some scan effects. The scanning effects are going to take advantage of the full individual control of these LED strips, so you can get multicolor. So I think the scan modes are probably my favorite on this new kit. It gives you a look that you really can't get with any of the other kits, and I really like how it turns out. I'm gonna see it with the lights off. There's a bunch of different scan modes. It seems like the block prism might be my favorite. I also really like the rainbow because it gives you pretty much every color you can imagine. There's also a wave prism. If you go to the cycle menu, there's a bunch of different ones under that. If you want to pick this red, white, and blue for a nice patriotic glow, you can do that, and it'll cycle through each one of the colors. But one of my favorite functions on the last exterior kit was the music function. And with the music function on the Pro kit, you can actually use the microphone that's on your phone, or you could use local music. If you have a lot of stuff in your iTunes library, and I guess Apple Music, make all that work. So one thing that I hope that they fix in firmware was when I would try to play something off of Spotify, I would open the Type S app and then the music would stop playing on Spotify. So it seems like you got to use your CD player, or if you have some music that's around you, like at a car show or something, it'll pick it up that way. But I couldn't really figure out a way to get it to play on the phone. So what I've done is taken my old iPhone, which is busted and cracked, where I already had a Type S app, and I just updated it, and we're going to go ahead and use this as the microphone. Then we're going to use my current phone as the audio source. As you can see right now, the music function actually picks up my voice, which is pretty neat. It's that sensitive, so as I'm talking, it'll go ahead and make the lights flicker. Having one constant light is pretty cool. You can change the color of this if you just want one constant light, or you can go to multicolor mode. So when you go to multicolor mode, it's going to cycle through a bunch of different colors with the different strips. It's a pretty cool effect. So let's go ahead and open up Epidemic Sound so we can have a song that's not copyrighted. We're going to go ahead and check out the function of this and see how it works. So that's it for this video. If you'd like to pick up your own Pro Series LEDs from Type S, you can find those on Type S's website. I'll have some links in the description below for some of the stuff that we used in this video. I'm really happy with these lights, and they turned out really awesome. And they look so good in pictures and videos. We're going to have some more Skyline stuff coming up very soon, so please stay tuned for that. Please like and subscribe, and have a fantastic day. You're breaching the garage. You've breached a perimeter.